Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another podcast episode of Soulful Growth to Success. And today I have Foojan with me, and she is a psychotherapist and she helps people with depression, anxiety, and so much more. So we'll ask from Foojan. So, hi, Foojan, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. It's so nice to be with you, Prabhleen, and everybody who's with us and listening to us.
Could you please introduce yourself to the audience about your journey, that how you became a psychotherapist? We'd love to know more about you.
I've been a psychotherapist and a coach, life coach and a business coach for almost 32 years now. And I got to the journey because I immigrated to the US when I was 12. And I had also come from a background of divorced parents and abuse and, kind of came alone at age 12. So there was a lot going on where I was just trying to survive. And then I thought that I was going to do everything everybody told me to do, go to school, get a good job, create a business, get married and have a home and buy a home and then I'll be happy. And I did all of that and I wasn't. So it was more like, okay, there's something going inside of me which is not satisfied with just the doing things. There was a being inside that needed also to be taken care of. So I started going to self-growth seminars and I went to psychotherapy and it really found the healing that was supposed to be there for myself. And I fell in love with the field and fell in love with the ability to be able to make a difference. And, the field has made a difference in my life. So I wanted to learn and make a difference in other people's life. So that's how I chose this field and kind of moved forward, learning all the theories, becoming a client to all of them and really like trying it on myself. I've worked also with, very severe in hospitals and people who were at the end of their life or they wanted to end their life. And in that realm, I think I opened up to the conversation of there's more to just the regular theories of psychotherapy. And, I opened myself into a whole realm of almost like 5 to 6 years of looking for the concepts of spirituality and kind of bringing psychotherapy and beyond together with all the theories that were there. And I formulated a theory that I founded called awareness integration theory, which we're implementing in all levels of education and clinical work together. So it's the journey is unfolding. It never ends, right? Like it's always unfolding to the next level.
Right. So, Fujan, how does psychotherapy works? Is it talk therapy? Like, what are the measures that can be taken to take care of the person or the client that has come with anxiety and depression?
That's a great question, actually, Prabhleen, because you're right that a lot of other measurements, so for example, you get your blood test or urine test or any of it, and it tells you what's missing and what's not there or is too much, and then we find a way to heal it, and then you'll do the measurements again. And one of the hardest way has been with psychotherapy because it is a little bit more abstract, but I think that we measure it through behaviors in a sense where we look at some of the internal process of how someone's behavior is impacting their life and others, and if those behaviors are creating something for them externally in this outside world, which then turns around and makes them satisfied in that relationship. Obviously our behavior comes from our thoughts and our emotions, so the more that we are expressing or we are becoming aware, and that's why the first word is awareness, because first we got to become aware to see how it is. So when you have a certain thought, you get a certain feeling. Or the other side of it is also true. You might experience an emotion that shows up for you. And then that emotion is like senses that you're taking things from the outside and then you're setting up meanings around it and put assigned meanings around it, and then we'll have other types of emotions around it. So when we are aware of what kind of thought process we have, what kind of feelings we have, which turns into our behaviors, right? So behavior could be your facial expression, it could be your nonverbal behavior, it could be the way you communicate, the way you put words, or how you act. But our relationship with the world only shows itself through our behavior, right? Like it doesn't matter how much you think, as long as it's not out there, it doesn't impact anybody.
Yes.
So we look at the measurements from that angle. So we start looking at how do you, we look at the different areas of your life, like, your relationship with your work, your finances, your body, your intimate relationship, your friends, your family, all the relationships that you have during the week that you're relating to, the roles you're playing in all of these relationships. And we could kind of look at each one of these relationships and see, are you in maximum efficiency and maximum satisfaction in all of these? And we usually say no. So then we look at, what are you doing that is working, that you're still in these relationships? What are your strengths? What are your greatnesses? What are your skills? And what are the areas that is not working for you? And then when we look at what not working, we'll look at, is it the thought process that is holding you back? Is it like a negative belief about you or the world that is holding you back? What are the emotions that are showing up that might be holding you back? Or what are your skills and some of the behaviors that you're doing that might not be workable for you? And then
Yeah.
we'll start, either shifting, challenging those beliefs, releasing those emotions, listening to the messages of the emotion and then releasing them, and then changing those behaviors, learning new skills and how to do that. And if the beliefs are coming from our childhood and it's very much living in a subconscious world, and we made a decision when we were 5 or 10 or 12, and we're still carrying those decisions, to go and heal that part, to monitor that part, where how come we made that decision, and we go back and kind of like heal it and shift it and integrate ourselves to be who we are today with all of our skills, and then kind of create a behavior change. And with the minute you see that you have a different way of being and acting out there with the world, then you're also co-creating your world with others. You're co-creating a different way of relations at your work or with your mates and everyone else. So those becomes the measurement, because it's like a cycle, right? So it's like an infinity cycle. Your thoughts and emotions create your behavior. Your behavior creates an impact in the relationship. Whatever impact it has, it comes back at you, and it creates the thinking and feeling again. So you could see this is constantly going. So it's like
Yeah.
it's interrupting it at one point and shifting some things in order for it to have a different experience.
Like you said, Fujan, so like there are people that you can see from the outside that they are depressed, right? They are not going to work or might not showing up in their relationships. But I feel like nowadays there are a lot of functional people who are depressed and they are not aware that they are. They're relating it, they're having anxiety, they're having panic attacks, but they're still like, oh no, I show up for work and show up in their relationship, but they're still have this sinking feeling within them. Like how to address that, or how also that the family member can address that, and how to make sure that person gets help.
So how do we have a particular emotions that shows up all day? And how do we handle it? Emotions have messages for us, right? So I'm going to split in two layers. One is emotions, and I'll split it into feelings, right? So there's emotion and feeling. Emotions, based on the latest neuroscience research that comes, it comes through our when we get data from outside, through our five senses, and kind of like six gut senses that are coming in. Normal automatic system, and not just human beings but all animals, have this sense of survival. So if the data that comes in, and the meaning that at that moment is given to it, is it's safe, all is well, moving forward, then my system, my physical system, is calm, and moving to do whatever it is. If by any of chance these information I'm gathering from outside triggers a fear or danger, then my system, my sympathetic system, comes up and gets me ready to fight, to run, to survive, right? So this is for all animals, including us. But we also have this frontal cortex, which we gather the information, and we're giving it meaning. Sometimes these meanings that we give it also now creates a different feeling around it. So we might have secondary feelings around some stuff. So then those feelings also have messages around it, and it tells you what kind of thought process is behind it, right? So if you are going to work and you see your boss has a facial expression, you're going to have an assumption that that facial expression appears to be anger, or that facial expression appears to be like they're happy. So based on this assumption of the data you just got, you looked at your boss's face. That's all. And based on what's happening there, you give it a meaning. I assume my boss is angry, or I assume my boss is happy. And based on that, you're going to have another feeling. Is this safe or is this not? And then it's like, if they're angry, immediately there's more assumptions. Is it about me? Did I do anything wrong? Am I going to be this? Am I going to do that? So you could see the flood of stuff that shows up inside of us that creates all of these ups and downs. And we cope with it. We've learned how to cope with it. Like you say, a lot of people learn how to, kind of like disengage and do their work anyway. But a part of us is picking up these messages. And sometimes what we do is, when if there's nothing going around, we ruminate on something that had happened before. Maybe we had a communication with someone and we haven't finished it. We're not complete. We're not clear. And then when there's time, our brain brings it up and says, okay, work on it now. And then so we bring it up. So if we didn't do anything with our boss or didn't talk to him, I can go home. And then as I'm cooking, oh my God, my boss was pissed off. What do you think is going to happen? Maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's this. So we can ruminate on stuff also where it feels very like unfinished. So especially on some of them, like when you talk about anxiety is creating a negative future, is creating a film, almost a video of a negative future that hasn't happened, but we scare ourselves. And anxiety is there to protect us, pretty much. It wants to show you, watch out. Don't be too comfortable. Something might happen. Open your eyes. Be aware, And then the anxiety for its protective side wants to bring all the cases of the scenarios, and sometimes all the worst case scenarios, in front of us to say, get ready for it. Because if this happens, you need to survive. So might as well get strategic, figure out all of it. So it's really there to protect us. However, how do I get the message and do something with it versus just get in the habit of letting it go all the way to cliffhanger and then come back to the beginning of the movie? Go to the cliffhanger, come back to the beginning of the movie. What if? And then I scare myself. And then what if I scare myself? And sometimes it's like, okay, let's go through the whole movie. What if? How can you handle it? And these are the ways, the skills you have today in order to handle this. And could have any control? Can you prepare yourself for it? If it's 11 o'clock at night, is there anything to do for me right now about this? No. Okay, so put it on a shelf. We'll deal with it tomorrow. Or we'll deal with it when I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Or if I don't have the skills and I need to gain the skills, okay, then let me gain the skills. So if that happens, actually, I do have the skills, right? What if I'm working very late all the time and I need to protect myself when I get into my car? Okay, how do you want to do it? So these are the things, like tomorrow you can look at maybe parking your car another place. Maybe I can go to self-defense classes. Maybe there are things that I can do in order to protect myself. And then there's some things that I just can't. And if it happens, I'll cross that bridge when I can. So anxiety is something about the future that's constant. And depression is something about, sometimes we say, it's a belief system about a negativity about the past, that we felt possibly powerless, we felt helpless, we felt victimized, we felt belittled. And there's something about the past that we made it about ourselves. We made a decision about ourselves that I'm not good enough, I couldn't do it, I'm not capable. I made a general thing about myself. And I keep hearing that it's not like, okay, in that incident, I was powerless. It's like, I am powerless, like, with a stamp in here. And then what happens is that because I've had an experience in the past and I don't want it to happen, I project this also in the future, which I create anxiety for myself in the future. Not only I handled it and I survived it in the past, but now it's going to happen in the future. And then that's where like the helplessness and hopelessness kind of carries. So as I become aware of the thought process that is behind the emotion, then I can release the emotion. For like anxiety and anger, it's a moving concept. I got to move. I got to do exercises. I got to do breathing. I got to get it out of my system and my body. But then on a conscious level, I got to remind myself that I'm safe. It's okay. All is well right now. And then for the depression, I need to go back and look at where did I create these things, the thought processes for myself. And are they real? Are they rational? Can I challenge them? Can I see that, can I see all my strengths? Although, yes, I was vulnerable, but I also had all of these strengths. I strategized, survived the whole thing. And then so I can look at all of me at the same time, my strengths and vulnerabilities. Those are the way that you could look at internal processes and get clear with the internal processes so that we could alleviate depression and anxiety.
I really like to know, like, what is your take on antidepressants? Because I understand, like, you work with people and changing their belief system and reaffirming and changing all of that. But if somebody who doesn't have access to you and are in now the circle of antidepressants, like, what is your take? Would you like to like tell people who are about to take them or who are taking antidepressants?
I think that there are, for people who experience truly that they cannot function in life, that's why medicine is here. Medicine and the medical field has helped us with appropriate medication in order for it to be better. So now people have clinical depression. So when you look at depression, it could be that it is clinical, which means that there are the chemistry of your body and your brain, which has shifted, which it does need medication for it to be balanced again. Now, that could be hereditary, it could be because depression was in your family multi-generationally and you were the lucky recipient of those genes. It could be that you were traumatized as a child, and because you weren't healed or you were consistently traumatized. Some people who live in a war or they were abused, and childhood adverse issues that have gotten created, where as their brain was developing and they were consistently in a traumatic experience as they lived, it also changed the chemistry of their brain, and they do need the chemicals in order to balance their life. For example, if someone is diagnosed by bipolar, schizophrenia, or many, even very, very chronic depression, or OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders, or some of these are definitely psychotherapy is not enough. And they do have to have, the appropriate medication in order to facilitate the changes of the chemistry that allows then. Or people who go through, especially women who go through the hormonal changes of, as their menstrual period is, or their menopause or premenopause and menopause. We have a lot of depression, which is not necessarily psychological depression. It is a hormonal inefficiency. A lot of, going to a physician, going to a psychiatrist and sharing all of this would allow the person to know that, the medication will help. Medication by itself does not, because when some of the depression is just psychological, some of them are grief that needs to be handled, some of them are traumas of the childhood that actually we need to heal. And until we do that, no medication is going to help.
Right.
Also, if many times we don't have the skills in how to come out, how to challenge ourselves, and we need skills, and medication doesn't give you skills. Psychotherapy does. So the combination, first of all, what I would always suggest is start with psychotherapy and see if psychotherapy is working for you and it's enough as you're working through, and give it time so that you could be fully functional in life and move on. And this way, you don't need medication. But if you are in psychotherapy and you are using the skills and all that is happening, and you're seeing that there's also a chemical angle in there, which you need to be shifting, then my suggestion is for psychotropic medication, please go to psychiatrists. Do not go to just general doctors to get psychotropic medication. The reason for that is because I know that each pharmaceutical, not only that each field obviously reads their own research when they go to their own associations, they learn more about their specialty. So
Mhm.
obviously that's more important. But also the pharmaceutical reps who come in and explain all of these medications, the reps go to the special. So psychiatrists get knowledge for the psychotropic medications all the time, where, a general physician might get a lot more for, cholesterol and diabetes and other things. And psychotropic medication could be 1/10 of what they learn about. So I usually suggest, if you are choosing to get psychotropic medication, please go to a specialty and go to a psychiatrist.
No, that's yeah, that's really helpful, Fujan. And Fujan, the people who come to you, like how many sessions? I know every individual is different, and there is chronic depression, like you have mentioned. There is a lot of inner work that needs to be done. But like a fair idea of how many sessions it would take, or it could take years for them to heal. Like, what is your timeline with these people?
When I think about awareness integration therapy, awareness integration, what we've done is, because we've brought a lot of different modalities together, it has become more of a brief therapy while it goes very, very deep. And we look at minimum 4 to 5 areas of life that you need to look at. And it's an open structure, but it's a structure. So with that type of psychotherapy, we've seen between 10 to 12 sessions, we're getting a lot of amazing results. Like the research we've done, within 10 to 12 sessions, what we saw was 75% minimization of depression, 64% minimization of anxiety, and raising self-esteem and self-efficacy. We've also seen it in self-help. Like for example, when you said people might not have access to all of the, credentialed psychotherapists and coaches that we've trained across the globe, that if they don't have access to that, then we created the Foojan app, which you could do self-help. And even with the self-help, what we've noticed, because people measure themselves, we've got 71 to 75% satisfaction in life when they've done these areas. And in the Fujan app also, there's an AI chatbot which answers your question and gives you skills, which is called Mira, within the Fujan app. So even if there are people need to be able to do this on their own in between client therapy sessions, or when they're home and they want to work on themselves, those are all the tools are available. Some of the modalities, some of the theories, obviously, might take longer. Some of them take years and years and years. I don't see necessary for years and years unless people are growing. I have clients who are with me for 20 years, but not because they're needing therapy from a angle of non-functional life, but they're functional and they're just coming for growth, right? Because we're always growing. So you can always use psychotherapy or coaching from a growth model, not necessarily from an illness model. But if there's an area in our life that is not working, then usually we could look at someone giving themselves the commitment of between 6 to 12 sessions to go and kind of open up. Because usually the first session is gathering a lot of history, getting connected with each other. So by the second session, we're kind of beginning just to look at and doing some assessments. Is there any clinical level of neurotransmitters not working, and do we need to create referrals, or this is more about a psychological perspective, giving them skills? Is it about a trauma in the past that we need to obviously heal? And if somebody has had tremendous amount of trauma, that might take longer, because we have to really not only bond, but the person has to learn how to contain their emotion and allow themselves to move to the pain that they had before and then heal. So if people have had a lot of traumas in their childhood, it might take all the way to 52 weeks or a year in order to go through and kind of clean up all of those traumas that were in the childhood. And awareness integration allows for that. It allows for, going a brief time of 10 to 12 sessions, or continuing as long as, you could heal the trauma and move forward with it.
That's amazing, Fijan. The program that you have created is Awareness Integration Program. Is that the
Yes.
name? Yes. So it's a very easy. Also, a lot of the time, awareness and clarity is needed in our lives, and also to know if we are at that what do you call it? At that point where you are to address that I'm clinically depressed. and I feel like it can really help. And also the resource that you've provided, it's self-help, that can really tell people where they are in life and where they are in their depression journey. So that's really helpful for John. And so for John, how can yes, like you mentioned your website, are there other ways that they can connect with you, get to follow your journey?
Sure. If people want to find me, I'm at foojanzeine.com. If they want to know about the theory, it's awarenessintegration.com, and it shares. We have all the research that is done globally in different countries with different population. The research is there, and some of the certified therapists and coaches across the globe are also in there. And if people want to have the app, they can go to Apple Store or Google Play, and we have it for Apple and Android. And if they wanted more information about the app, they could just go to Foojan.com, because Foojan is the name of the app, and they can go to Foojan.com and read about it and learn. It's a 3-day free trial. They can check it out and see. And they can use it, again, as I said, in between psychotherapy or coaching models, or they can use it on its own at any time. They can ask questions from the AI chatbot, which is trained on this specific theory, and enjoy building skills. And I usually say it like this. I say, how we all have possibly like massage gadgets at home that give us some release. And I would look at app is in that way. It's a self-help, it's journaling, it's guided journaling. We ask questions, we prompt you, we have meditation in there, we have guided meditation that really installs all of that. It says mindfulness in there. But if somebody needs more of a work, they go to a massage therapist, right? So they allow themselves to lay there and really receive the massage and really get their muscles kind of like release all the tension. And I usually say that, look, you could go to like a psychotherapist or a coach, because a psychotherapist or a coach are like a mirror that they could show you all the angles that you don't see yourself if you're not looking at a mirror, right? And they can offer you skills because they can hear the blind spots that you have and you might not be seeing yourself, and they can offer it to you. And then someone, if you're injured, right? Massage therapy or these massage things won't help. You got to go to professionals. You got to go to a chiropractor. You got to go to an orthopedic. You got to go to physical therapy in order for them to really work with that injury. And in that, I say, if you have truly like a mental illness condition, or you have a lot of huge traumas in the past that are creating a lot of these mental illness conditions, then you do need to have a psychotherapist that is an expert in that area, or that you have a psychiatrist in the team to be able to work with you. So you could look at it, and people who are with us, they can look at what their needs are.
Right.
And that can become available even with awareness integration. All of that is available.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing, Fujan. The work you are doing, how you are helping and serving people. I feel that's brilliant, and that is one of the major thing that everybody is going through, and so many people in America and even in other countries are suffering from depression and anxiety. And I am so glad that you've come to our podcast and shared that information with my audience. And I feel like it's been a beautiful episode. And thank you for coming in, Farjan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you, listeners, for staying in and listening to the whole episode of Soulful Growth to Success. And I will see you in the next episode. Stay tuned.